Hi everyone. So today I am going to be sewing a reversible pillow bonnet. And I figured since we're almost in the Christmas season, I'm going to make it with seasonal themed fabrics. So, well, seasonal themed colors. So I'm going to have, since it's reversible, it's going to be green and red, although this is kind of burgundy. So what I'm going to do is I'll walk you through the process and tell you what you will need. So this is for what will be considered like standard size pillow. Okay, so it's approximately 20 by 28 inches for American size pillow, or 20 by 28 or 20 by 26, depending on the size of where you purchase your pillows from. So for this one, for a standard size American pillow, I keep saying that because pillow sizes vary. You're going to need two satin pieces, and for this you will need one. Both pieces should be approximately the same. It'll be 30 by 37 inches. So I've gone ahead and already cut it, and I will walk you through what we need to do next. So let's do this. I'm going to flip the camera. Yeah, don't look at the mess I have over there. This is the one you want to see. Okay. All right, so I have my fabric pieces here, and the next steps for me is I'm going to fold it. So overall, 37 by 30. I folded it in half and then folded it again. It's actually, maybe it's easier if I do it over here so you can see it in full. So this is the full thing. It goes 37 by 30. So I am going to fold it in half, and then I am going to go ahead and fold it again. So this is what it will look like. So it's you're going to fold it in such a way that it actually, let's see if I can do this. You have it on the longer side, almost like a quarter. You're quartering it, but with the pieces longer. Let me know if you have questions about this. So I folded this in half. I want it to be equal parts half. And this one doesn't actually have a zipper, so today I should not be struggling with my zipper like I normally do on other lives. And I'll fold it again. So move that over to the side. We'll repeat this twice since it's going to be reversible. So this is what it looks like with the edge here and all the pieces together. Now, what I'm going to do is, because obviously you want this to cover and encase the pillow bonnet, we're going to measure approximately 5 inches this way and 5 inches this way. So I'll use my regular handy dandy ruler and just mark 5 inches. I'll mark 5 inches here because I want to also mark this here, and then 5 inches in. It's almost there. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and draw a line down this way. Now, another easy way you can do this is actually put both pieces of fabrics together instead of waiting. And if you fold them both together, you can actually do one cut, right? But I'm also a firm believer in measure twice, cut once. So you don't want to get into a situation where you're measuring and then you accidentally cut a piece that is not what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. This is going to be the corner, and I'll cut along my line. So this is the first piece here with the corners cut, and then I'm going to go ahead and set this aside and do the same thing with the other side. Remember, it's a reversible pillow bonnet. So take this, open it wide, and then I'm going to fold it again after so fold it lengthwise and then fold it again into a quarter. Try to make sure it's as even as possible, because you want to make sure that when you actually put this together, it looks even. That's the word I was looking for, even, right? Okay, so I measured this ahead of time because we're working with a larger piece of fabric and I did not want to waste people's time. So similar to what I did here, where my fabric pieces were like this, I'm going to go ahead and measure the 5 inches on this side as well. So putting that together, it's a little off. Let's see. I believe I have it exactly what I need, but I think this is the one I made up. So it's 24. Okay. It is actually longer than what I needed. So I'll go ahead and cut this. It looks longer. I was wondering about that because it should be the same size as this. Yep, it is longer. I'm not sure how it got so long, considering they were both cut at the same time, but no worries. It will be cut down. This is what happens when you deal with slightly different fabric types. So, okay. All right. So I have this now, which it should now be even. Sure is. So obviously this has moved since I moved it or I folded it. But in any case, we're going back to this. We're going to measure 5 inches. I used a red pen earlier, which wouldn't show up here. So I'm going to use a slightly different color so that I'm able to see my marks. Mark that. And then I'll mark this. And I'll mark it in again. And I'm just going to go ahead. And this is, the holidays are almost here. This is a great thing to put together as you travel. It's like it's one of those things where it's a grab and go type situation. You don't have to think too much about it. You have it when you're traveling. It's easy to use. I find that pillowcases sometimes like they slip, especially when you have satin pillowcases. And this one, because of the way it is, and because of the fact that it has actual, just remeasuring that to make sure I have it right, because of the fact that it has elastic hold in it, it's not as, it doesn't move as much. So we go ahead and cut that, and then all right, believe it or not, this is the hardest part. As I always say, cutting the pieces, so cutting your fabric pieces is usually the hardest part. So now we're going to start laying things out. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you lay this out in such a way that the right sides are facing up. So I'm going to take this. Actually, it might be easier for me to do it on the floor, so I will put it on the floor and then, move my camera so that it's easier for you to see. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to take the second piece, which is what I have here, and I will put it right on top. So as I always say, right sides face each other, and if it's a little off, don't worry, it's fine. It works itself out eventually, which it is slightly off. And I knew that the other piece was slightly bigger, but that's okay because I made allowances. So I will go ahead and make the adjustments shortly to make sure that it's more even. So I was trying to rush to get to the slide earlier, so I knew that my measurements might be off, but I'm going by the smaller side, which to me makes more sense. And I will cut, cut, cut. And we'll do the same thing on the other end here. Now, if you had all your pieces exactly right, you wouldn't have a problem with this. So you don't need to worry about having to do this if you have everything right. I'm just doing this because I knew I was going to be slightly off when I did my measurement. So I'm going to leave the ends as is, or yeah, I'm going to leave. No, I want to cut it. I want it to look even, so I will cut it. If for those wondering, I'm using a pair of Geiger scissors. They're my fave. I've had these pair for a solid, I want to say 10 years, going on 10 years now. So they work, they last, they're sharp, and they're great. So, all right, my pieces are mostly together now, and they should mostly be even. Um, the thing about this burgundy piece is it has a little bit of stretch, which is why I'm always very concerned when I'm cutting it because it gives you a little more. So I'm going to leave it so that I don't mess this up. If you've seen my last video, one of my previous lives, you know that this has happened in the past, so I'm going to leave it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clips and start clipping the corners, because the next thing I'm going to do is put them together, like sew it all together. So right sides facing each other, and step one is to sew the corners together. Make sure you're catching all four pieces. This is the reason why I wanted to trim it so that it matched. You just take it. Like if you've ever sewn, you know, the square toys that kids usually play with. I think I'm sure a little more. You know, the little stuffed toys. It's very similar to that. The only difference is that this one, you're not going to fully close it up. So we'll do the same thing here for all four corners. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I have so much junk on my sewing table. I wouldn't call it junk. You know what? I'm going to call them work in progress. Okay? Because every day I have something new that I'm working on. So it's a work in progress table. And I am working through my work in progress table. I have multiple patterns there for things I want to sew, things I want to try out, and things I want to share videos of how-tos. So when I have so many things there, that's the reason why. But unfortunately, it doesn't lend itself to being able to do a live with large pieces of fabric. So for the most part, most of my videos are smaller projects. Okay. All right, so all four pieces are now clipped together, and we're going to go to the sewing machine this way. And we're going to go ahead and sew them all four areas down. Okay. So again, like I said, remember, you want to make sure you are holding all four pieces of fabric, and that's it. I will, as I go, and remember, I always use black thread. If you're new here, I use black threads because it's easier for the viewers to see what I'm doing with black thread as opposed to a matching thread color. When you're teaching, you want to make sure that people see what exactly it is you're sewing and are able to follow. So one side done, 3 more to go. I used to watch some videos earlier on when I first started getting more into teaching people how to sew and things. I would because when I learned to sew, YouTube was not a thing, but I would see these videos and I'd be like, man, that looks really nice. It would be nice if I can follow through, but follow what they're doing. But the truth is, if you use a matching thread color, sometimes people can't see it. So it's always better to use a color that is so contrasting that it's almost impossible for them not to see it. So we'll repeat the same thing here. take off the loose threads and cut the excess. You know, it's funny. I spent so much time looking through, going through a playlist to determine a playlist for my, when I go live, right? And I was so excited, put together my playlist from the YouTube library, and then quickly realized that I have noise canceling microphones. What does that do? It prevents you from being able to hear the music because it considers it noise. It concentrates on the voice talking. So that didn't help. And I know I've told folks, if you have the trick to it, I don't want to be blasting music because I need to also be able to hear my surroundings. So that's not something I would be doing otherwise anyways. So yeah, if you have a trick for how to incorporate music, I'd appreciate it. Hello. Oh, there are comments. Hi everyone. Oh, well, thank you. He loves you too. And then we have one more piece to sew. That's an interesting comment. Jesus loves you. I believe he loves everybody. I don't have a problem with that. I just hope that people who say that actually do practice the love of Jesus when they make those comments. So he does love everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. So there should be a equal practice to the words Jesus loves you. But thank you. I hope you're a believer and you practice it sincerely. Okay. So going back and finishing up everything. So this is my fourth corner and I will do the same thing. And let's see. All right, so now all four corners are done. We're getting there. It's starting to take shape. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually just sew a straight line and then leave an opening. So I'm going to sew a straight line. This is going to be the longest straight line you've ever sewn, but it's needed. So this is, if we had turned it inside out, this is what it would look like. We're not there yet, nowhere close to that. We're just going to go ahead and sew a straight line around. When I'm doing bonnets, I usually can use my, and I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch seam allowance around it. That's why I said I had a lot of allowance. I give it a lot of seam allowance here. So this is a good area where it would be nice to have some music playing, but I don't have music, so we are just going to continue. Thanks for the cup of tea, or is it a cup of joe? I love coffee, if that's what it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. So this is side one done. We're going to be sewing for a while. And the funny thing, I just realized that I did not bring my standard size pillow here. So we'll probably work with my pillow stuffing that I use for other things. So it's kind of bigger, but it's not fully so this is what I meant when I said if it's not fully equal, it's okay. It's a forgiven pattern. If you're not sure how to measure out your pillow, the American standard size for a pillow is 20 by 26 or 20 by 28. And for this, just add 10. So I have 30 by 37. Well, it's approximately 36, 37. So add 10 inches to each side. And, oh, I'm almost out of bottom. Let's see if it'll get me there. I literally just need to get me here. So let's see. Am I sewing blank? Almost. Okay, so I do have a replacement. This is what always happens. Like you think, ooh, I'm chugging along, chug, 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 and then it has an issue. It has an issue. Not necessarily an issue, but you run out of bobbin thread, which is fine. Yeah, I was about to literally have nothing left, which is fine. So I have this, I have this thread, right? It's not black. I have never liked this color thread. I am not even sure why I rolled it onto the bobbing, but it's there. So continuing this. And you're going to leave about 2 inch. And I say 2 inches because it is satin, which means it gives me a little more give and it's easier. If you recall, I said the burgundy part is a little stretchy. It has a little bit of stretch to it. The burgundy fabric, so it gives me a little more allowance. But if you're working with pure cotton, so I'm leaving this allowance here. If you're working with pure cotton, please leave enough to get this done, because otherwise you're going to run into problems when you try to put this all to turn it inside out. So make sure you're thinking about that. And I'm just putting things away now so that I can go ahead and cut around the edges. So flipping the camera the other way. And today my sewing table, well, part of my sewing table doesn't have all the messes. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little clean. And I'm very thankful for my rotary cutter, which always saves the day. So I'm going to go ahead and just, clean off my edges here. Takes a little bit of time. Patience is needed for something like this. And the main reason you're doing this is because you don't want it too bulky. So don't, I'm one of those people, while I don't mind following the rules with sewing, it should be fun. It shouldn't be stressful. So if it's starting to stress you out, then it's okay to cut some corners. Some, not all. When it comes to measurements, it's probably the reason why I'm not a good baker, because I cannot, if the recipe calls for something specific, I'm just like, I'm gonna eyeball it a little bit and see where that leads me. I mean, I don't go crazy, but I always like the opportunity to improvise. So that's why I say sewing kind of feels like that. It's my version of baking, as in it gives me a little bit of an allowance to make adjustments without necessarily going crazy or feeling like if I don't do this, then it's going to turn out completely ridiculous. All right, so let's put that there, put that aside, and clean up this area a little bit. I don't like the little things to come through there, but it is what it is. And then now we're going to go ahead and turn this using our opening. Get rid of this here. Turn it inside out. And believe it or not, we're almost done. I'll show you shortly what that looks like. We still have a couple more things to do. And if you want to take a sewing class with me, I do teach on Outschool. You can find me there. But if you want to take, the link is in my profile. But if you want to take an actual sewing class with me, please feel free to reach out. My page, isewithjoy.com, does give you the option to take a one-on-one sewing class with me. Yeah. So we'll pull this through. The other day I was listening to a video I had recorded, and I realized, I'm like, oh my God, why am I breathing so heavily? It's because I have allergies, and allergy season is here, fully, happily torturing all of us. All right. So this is done now. I'm going to take out and kind of like, just pull my ends here. And do the same. Around. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and sew a straight line across to create a casing. Okay, so let's do this. I first have to find my opening so that I know which way it'll go once I start doing my casing. I've lost my hole. Oh no. Found it. Yay. So this is going to be another long one where just go ahead and sew down. Take that, and I want to sew the longer sides first, and then I'll sew the shorter sides together. This is the thing, when you have something that has such a long stitch area, it does create a bit of a problem to get that sewn, but we'll get through this. So what you're seeing me doing here is I'm trying to make sure I'm not catching this to create an overly long or well, not overly, but overly wide casing. So I'm just trying to separate it as I go because it is a longer piece. Man, I've done the two longer sides, and now I'm going to do. Oh no, it's not. And for some of this, I feel like sometimes I need to do more like a video versus a live, but I'm trying to be more comfortable going live. So hopefully this doesn't look as confusing. But what I will also do is I will also post a live, I mean a video, a regular video, so that for those who don't want to follow a live, it's easier for you to come back and watch it. So and yes, all four of my sides will eventually come together. Okay. So the next piece is, and if I can find it, I need to thread my elastic through my casing. So for the elastic piece or the elastic portion here, I basically the rule of thumb is measure and then deduct. So remember how it was initially the measuring this was you measure the total amount, oh, the total size of your pillow. So for a standard size pillow, we have it's 20 by 26 or 20 by 28, and I decided to do 30. I mean, yes, I decided to do 30 by 37, which is kind of in between. For the elastic, we're going to do half of that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the center here, or you can, if you don't want to measure half, you can do the circumference. Okay, so the circumference of from here all the way to that area there. So for this one, it makes more sense to use measuring tape because it allows for a curve. So I just have my design here, and I'm going to measure here. So it takes me 10. And then from this end here, 21. So that's 10 and 21. That's 31. And the other half should be approximately 10. Yeah, 10. So that's 41. So 41, and my elastic is going to be minus 10, because remember, plus 10 for the fabric, minus 10 for the elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it, and then insert my casing, and then just close it. So go ahead and just measure this out. So 31 inches for my casing. This is 24, and I need 7. And that's it. Once I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and thread it through. And I will, since I don't have a pillow here, I can't show you what it'll look like, but I will post a video or post a picture of the final results. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and thread this through using a Bodkin. And if this is your first time joining me, thank you. If you're not already doing so, please take a moment to like, share, and leave a comment when you see this. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.